Hello and welcome to Crucible of Worlds for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a deck that I have in paper, which is Monowhite Painter, specifically the Grindstoneforge build. So, as you can imagine, we have Painter Servant here, which makes all cards the colour of your choice, and Grindstone, which mills cards, and if they're the same, keeps going. So this combo lets you mill out your opponent. So we have a combo that's A plus B and wins you the game in this deck. But then we've surrounded it with a bunch of other plans that are pretty strong. So we have Stoneforge Mystic with Batterskull and Kaldra as options to go find. Maybe we want Jitte in here. I've not been playing it with Jitte for the last few leagues I've played this deck, so we're going to see if we can carry on without the Jitte. So this is just a way that provides a lot of pressure that forces your opponent to react and can just win you games on its own. Then we have Staff of the Storyteller. This card is very strong. I think it's going to be a staple in Legacy going forwards. Every time I've played it, it's been great. So this gives us a draw engine. It also gives us a spirit that can chump block or hold equipments or just generally be a nuisance, pressure planeswalkers, that sort of thing. So we've got this, and every token we make is going to add counters to this and hopefully draw us cards. So Stoneforge Mystic getting these things with living weapons will give us tokens. Urza Saga also gives us tokens. So that's kind of where we're going with this. And we also have a Retrofitter Foundry as part of our Urza Saga package that makes a lot of tokens and can just become a Howling Mine effect alongside the Staff of the Storyteller. So that's kind of like another plan that we have embedded on a deck. Then we have the Oswald Fiddlebender, which is the glue that holds the deck together. So this is sacrificing Ancient Dens to find Grindstones, or sacrificing Sentinels to find Painter Servants or whatever, or sacrificing a Staff of the Storyteller to go get Crucible of Worlds and lock your opponent out with Wastelands. This has a lot of flexibility, and this was like the original thing that made this deck exist in the first place. So a pretty good card. We also have some Ethersworn Canonist here. It's a really good disruptive tool. It slows down Storm decks. Well, Storm decks basically can't win through it, mostly, but not necessarily, because they do have a lot of artifacts, but it's very difficult for them, because they normally have to cast a tutor spell and their payoff. So this is usually going to be good enough while we're pressuring them. But against elves and things, it's also really potent. And control decks, they can't ponder for an answer. They kind of get locked under this, where it really slows their wheels. So I really like Ethersworn Canonist. We've got some other little pieces here. We've got some Esper Sentinels. These are, again, to slow our opponent down, force them to put mana into their spells that they don't necessarily want to, which gives us either cards or slows them down, which is quite potent. We have 3 Mother Runes to protect our combo, as well as just force through some big things when we're trying to win with our equipments or keep our Stoneforge Mystics alive, etc. Mother Rune is just a good card. That's kind of like the core of the deck. The rest of it is all tutor targets, really. So we've got these 4 Urza Sagas. What are we tutoring for with them? Usually Grindstone, right? But sometimes it will be a Pithing Needle. Sometimes it will be a Retrofitter Foundry, so we can go wide or draw loads of cards of Staff of the Storyteller. It's very good at winning some of the sort of slower fairer matchups. Piece of Graveyard Hate in Soulguide Lantern. Now, because we have Oswald, we also have the option to tutor for some other artifacts, hence the Crucible of Worlds, which is very good if we're recurring Urza Saga or Wasteland. Sometimes we can also recur the Horizon Canopy too. And we have a one-of portable hold as our sort of removal in the main deck. So the idea is we're trying to pressure our opponent, so we're not trying to remove their guys, really. We're trying to beat them down with Kaldra and then combo them out most of the time. So we have one removal spell to tutor for in the main deck, which is the portable hold we can tutor for with the Fiddlebender. This is a thing that can shut down main deck Collector Roofs, which is why it's important to have. We can beat Collector Roof because we're not all in on artifacts because of the Stoneforge plan. Yes, these are artifacts, but they don't need to activate to do their thing. And that's pretty much the deck. We've got a whole bunch of basics here to keep us nice and safe. And we have 1 Eiganjo and only 3 Ancient Den, because you don't want too many to get swept up by Meltdown, because everyone that can will be bringing Meltdown against us. We'd rather not play into it and get hands where we have double Ancient Den if we can avoid them. But we do still want the Ancient Dens so that we can tutor for stuff with the Oswald. So 3 seems to be about the number that I like here. Also pumps our Saga constructs. The difference between this list and the last one I played is I've got -1 Skrelv, +1 Esper Sentinel. I never really found Skrelv that useful, to be honest. And we've also got rid of the second Horizon Canopy in favour of just another basic planes. I keep wanting basic planes, so let's put some more in there. Alright, quick chat about the sideboard. Deafening Silence, a turn 1 on the play piece that we can play against Storm to stop the deck killing us on turn 1 potentially. This seems pretty useful to me. 4 Swords to Plowshares, because there are decks where we will just need removal spells, right? So we've got these to come in when that's the case. We've got some catch-alls in the form of March by the Way Light. This can hit scary permanents like Energy Flux. It can hit creatures like Collector Roof. It can hit Marit Lage, Chalice the Void. It can do all sorts with this. So it's definitely a flexible tool that we can use. And with Painter's Servant, we can name white and have more cards to pitch to it if we need to. But generally, we're going to be spending mana on this. We have a Around on the Third Path. This is a good way of blowing some permanents up, but we can reuse it with the Karakas, so it's worth just having the one in there. We have one Grafdigger's Cage against Elf decks, against Sneak and Show decks, against Reanimator. We can get it with Oswald, we can get it with Urza's Saga. So as a one-of, it's something we have a little bit more access to. Now those matchups, we tend to want the stuff quicker, right? So it's not always great just having all these Saga Saga targets, of like the Soulguide Lantern and the Grafdigger's Cage. But the more of them you have, the better, right? So that's what that's there for. And we have 3 Containment Priests, which is our hate piece against Reanimator. Now, Reanimator is pretty strong and can definitely come in and beat us a lot of the time. So we could be running things like Ley Lines, which is something I've run in the past, and I have them in paper for when I do run them. But I'm trying out Containment Priest a bit more because this is better against things like Show and Tell and Elves, so it's kind of got more utility across more matchups. And again, it beats down for 2. It ignores Serenity. It's ignored... Like, Serenity is going to be brought in against us anyway, right? By Reanimator. So this ignores that. So that's sort of 2 lines that we can shut off with, like, a permanent in terms of Soulguide Lantern or Grafdigger Cage and a Containment Priest that is not going to get swept up by Serenity. So that's kind of some of the logic on that one. And at the end of the day, Reanimator decks can just, like, show and tell you as well. So this is what I'd like to try out. Haven't really had that much testing with it, but that's what these leagues are for. So that's the deck. I think I've whittled on about this one quite a bit. So if you're here, like, comment, subscribe to help me out, or become a member of the Patreon or the channel, or jump onto Discord and you can get me to play your deck via a donation deck if that's the thing you're interested in. Okay, let's play some Legacy with Grindstoneforge. Alright, this is our opening hand. We've got a good curve. We can do Mother into Staff, and then we can use Staff, Retrofitter Foundry to just draw all the cards we could possibly want. We have Fiddlebender to go and find some stuff out if we need it. Karakas can bounce some scary permanents. We are a little bit cold to Wasteland though. We are going to keep this. We're on the draw, so we can maybe get an indication if we need to play Pithing Needle on Wasteland. Right, Snow-Covered Island. This usually means somewhere along the sort of Omnitel spectrum as a general rule. Do we want to play as a Saga out and just start going for it? Or do we want to grind a little bit longer? Do I think we have to win the game quickly? If we think our opponent's on Omnitel, I think we probably need to try and win the game quicker. So I think we will jam this out. I want to play a Pithing Needle here. I think we might try and cheese our opponent just in case they are a combo deck here. So we're going to go for the Misty Rainforest name. Is it that or Prismatic Vista? It's going to be Misty Rainforest, right? I don't like this play, but I think it's more or less where we want to be. We're not using that 1 mana for the Retrofitter Foundry this turn. I don't think we don't want to expose that to a Prismatic ending. But if they want to end our Needle, it's not the end of the world if that's the thing that's in their deck. We might have just cheesed our opponent, who knows. And I wanted to get the Urza Saga online this turn because we might need to race if our opponent is a combo deck. The Snow-Covered Island with no other plays is very suspicious. Kind of makes me think that maybe we're just looking at Show and Tell next turn and we're going to lose the game anyway. Because I'm trying to think what hands they would keep. Just sort of island go. Okay, a Tropical Island. It does feel like blue-green Omnitel, but we'll see. So now we have a choice. We can play out the Oswald and go for cycling up the Needle into a Grindstone next turn. I think that's probably fine, so let's play this one out and go for this. Alright. So we've got 3 mana next turn, which isn't enough for what we require. Our opponent could well be, if they are on the sort of Omnitel, they're going to have Emrakul's in their deck, so we're going to need to find another piece in terms of the Soulguide Lantern. Okay, so we're just going to get a Soulguide Lantern next turn anyway, off of our Urza Saga, because that's going to be the best thing to deal with the Uro, and we can hold it back for potential Emrakul type stuff. Now, our opponent could just be on a control deck, and we've misread, but they're not really doing a great deal. So let's add some mana. Can we get ourselves a Soulguide Lantern? Get rid of this Uro. And I think we're just going to start drawing some cards here. So we played our land for the turn in this Karakas. Do we want to hold back the Oswald, or do we want to get some bits in? I think we're going to get some bits in this turn and draw off the Staff. But we've got repeatable staffs, I guess. And we're going to be making some guys. We can leave up the Karakas in case there is some sort of thing that makes us want to bounce our Oswald. Okay, our Pithing Needle was actually doing something here. It's stopping our opponent high casting a Force of Will. But it might not stop them from doing other stuff. Okay, so our opponent is in a Lurin deck. Does that change anything here? If they have it, they have it. They might not have it. They might just be putting some stuff into play right now. Okay. So we do get to put our Mother of Runes in as well. There's an Uro. Let's draw a card with this. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. So we're going to have a lot of stuff to go to next turn. Because we're going to be able to put both of these in our opponent's end step because of Lurin. Here comes the Mother of Runes. Here comes the Stoneforge Mystic. So I don't think they have an Emrakul in their deck now. This is Kaldra Compleat there. And there's a Saga. I like this one. Take this one out. I think we will activate our Stoneforge Mystic here. This is going to put counter on our Staff of Storyteller. It attacks. This will attack. So we've got another card draw saved up. I'm kind of hoping that we can win when this Urza Saga pops. We don't have a 0-drop to go and filter for. We could have played the Retrofitters and made a token. But alright, we're gonna draw a card first. If we can find something like an Ethersworn Canonist, that can shut down some stuff from our opponent. Let's cast this without paying its mana cost. So they're looking for, depending on the list, it looks like they're more towards like the bug lists. So okay, you're gonna pay for this. I imagine they will, because they're going to be pondering into creatures most likely. Yeah. So they're looking for something like an Asarak or the Merfolk if they're on that build. But I imagine they're probably on the Asarak because their mana base looks relatively basic heavy, whereas the 4-color whatever the Merfolk's called that's got as part of a cost to kick it, you have to bounce one of your guys. Whatever that's called. I played it on the channel with Charbel a while back. It was a very informative and fun league, that one. The deck felt really good. Difficult to play, but very good. Alright, our opponent's got a lot of fetch lands. Just got a lot of mana sources in general. There's a Brainstorm. Sure. So this one doesn't have to be paid for Sentinel tax-wise. So next turn, we can get ourselves a Canonist. Because we don't really want to get rid of the Pithing Needle, but maybe we should have last turn. We do want to hit another mana source. If we can hit another mana source, that'd be great. That's not another mana source, is it? Bit of a tricky one. If we don't hit another mana source, we can't combo next turn. So we have a choice of making the Staff of the Storyteller, drawing a card, looking for a mana source. I think we have to do that. If we find the other mana source, then we can cycle the Sentinel into a Canonist. We don't think our opponent's got Emrakul in now, so we can just get rid of this Saga land to get rid of their Uro. So we have a choice here about whether we try and spin for a white source. If we hit a white source, then we're great. Is that greedy? Should we just be getting Canonist now? I think we should just get Canonist. What do we want to get rid of here? I don't think the Pithing Needle is doing that much for us. But is the Esper Sentinel doing that much for us either? Probably not. Let's take the Pithing Needle. Mana's not their problem here. Let's get this Canonist. So this is a card that our opponent can't actually interact with. And it should stop them being able to combo because they're trying to cast lots of spells. Problem with this, I don't think we need to attack with more guys. Our plan here is to combo them out next turn. Let's hope the top card of our library is a white source. I think we are right getting the Canonist here. This could fix them into a black source. Yeah, it has fixed them into a black source. And here comes the Baleful Strix. That is an artifact. They have 4 cards in their graveyard, which isn't enough for the Uro. So this is the only spell our opponent can cast this turn, unless they have an artifact. So if we can draw a land here, then we are on. Then we'll hold this Mother of Runes. Do we need to hold it for now? Our opponent can have some sort of... Okay, we drew a mana source. Excellent. Let's go hunting for a Grindstone. Let's play this out. Sacrifice our 1-drop guy to go and get a Painted Servant. We will name black in case I have snuff outs. And because we have the mana floating, I think we're incentivized to pop this off now. We do have a Mother of Runes activation. Maybe we should play the second one so we had 2 Mother of Runes activations available. But these decks can have like singleton Plague Engineers. Alright, that worked alright. I think we probably should have played the Mother of Runes out of turn before. But yeah, pretty good. Staff drew us some cards. Sort of helped us get up there a little bit. Give us more food for the Oswald. Eventually getting us into the Canonist to lock them out. Okay, so we're playing against Bug Allurin. So, creatures probably going to be decent. Creature removal here probably going to be decent. Grafdigger's Cage only hits their Uro, which isn't really great. The Loran can hit Allurin itself, which is good. I don't think trying to get much by the light is a realistic goal here. Pithing Needle doesn't seem particularly good. Oh, actually, no, I can name Cavern Harpy, right? If they're on a Cavern Harpy build, it can name that. So I think we probably do have to keep that. The Mother of Runes probably going to be useful here. Retrofitter Foundry. Is this a game where we're going to need to grind in that sort of fashion? I don't think so. I like Crucible of Worlds because they're going to have a lot of lands that we can smash up with a Wasteland. So I like Saga Lantern for Uro. Canonist obviously very good. Staff the Storyteller gives us all these 1/1. I guess maybe we need the Retrofitters as well. How are we fitting these cards in? Interesting. Interesting choices. Maybe we're trimming on some of our combo pieces here. So get rid of a Grindstone. We'll probably get rid of 2 Grindstones. Get rid of 2 Painters and an Oswald. Something along these lines. Sort of play a slightly fairer game and try and wasteland them into the dirt if we can. Alright, our hand not great against Wasteland, but we've established that's not really a tool our opponent's bringing to bear. We can keep this and get our Mother of Runes up into the Canonist, which stops our opponent's combo draw. Alright, a ponder from our opponent. We can start chaining Urza Sagas together. We can probably win this game that way. It's a very powerful plan. Right, our opponent did not shuffle off their ponder. I think we are supposed to lead on this land this time, though, rather than the Saga, and just get our Mother of Runes into play because we want to protect our Canonist. That's one of the big hits. Now, we do have to try and get around some Force of Wills, but you can't have everything. Right, just a fetch land from them and then go. Okay. I think we're going to go for the Stoneforge Mystic rather than the Canonist, because it felt like our opponent had a pause with a Force of Will, and I'd rather Force of Will a Stoneforge Mystic than our Canonist, because this is the thing that stops us from losing the game. This is the thing that can win us the game. Yeah, so there's the Force of Will that we suspected, and they pitched a Cavern Harpy. If you're familiar with Cavern Harpy, this is the one they use for their engine. So basically, they put it into play at instant speed, it bounces like an Uro or something, and they can pay 1 life to bounce this itself, and then just keep looping that under an Allurin. Sure, we're not going to attack with our Mother of Runes. We need to keep it up to play around Snuff Out or Fatal Push or Abrupt Decay. These are all things our opponent can play. Obviously, they will need another mana source for playing Abrupt Decay because they don't have black and green. But these are all things that we want to play around. There is a Bayou, so this could be a Plague Engineer, just an Uro. That's fine. Obviously, very good card, but it's fine for where we are right now. These decks tend not to run days, but it's not an impossibility. Loran are the third path. This will be good if they get an Allurin into play. Just getting a counter on this. So we have a choice of whether or not we start making some guys via the... well, they've got 3 cards in hand. Are we supposed to make the Canonist? We can Loran at the right time here, which is quite a powerful play. We could play a Crucible, so we can just get up and running next turn by chaining these things. We've got a lot of options here. Is it Canonist plus Needle, or is it Crucible, or is it making an Urza Saga construct? I think I want the Crucible here. I am biased because I do love Crucible, but I think this is a useful tool that means that we can just guarantee we have 4 mana next turn. And by the nature of having Crucible in play, it means that we don't have to try and get the maximum value out of each in every Saga. It's just sort of in there right now. So this looks like an Allurin. Alright, opponent's got 3 cards in hand. Now, we have the removal spell here. This is Asarak the Archlich. We will cast this without paying. Do they have a Force of Will in hand? If so, we're getting punished for playing this Crucible in a big way. Right. So now we're going to play this Canonist. Alright. So we're kind of in... I think having this that we can put in off the Allurin is just really strong in this matchup. So does our Loran come in? It does. Let's blow up the Allurin now. We can't play another creature because of our own Ethersworn Canonist. We can't get this extra Mother of Runes in. But we can blow up the Allurin. It feels like this matchup should be pretty good for us in general because of Canonist being a thing that we put in when they start comboing, as well as the Loran. So this is going to bounce, and the Scry one, I think, is the dungeon they're most likely to go into here. Scry one, yeah, and then it makes a 1/1 or a treasure, and so on and so forth. I think the final stage is drawing a card. Certainly a lot weaker than the Undercity that the initiative gives you. What do we have here? An Oswald Fiddlebender. I think we're making a guy. I think I'm going to make a guy this turn. We'll get this Saga Lantern. We will strip out this Uro. That gets rid of one of their other ways of trying to win the game. And then play our land for turn from the graveyard. Are we Pithing Needling the Cavern Harpy this turn? Are we worried about a Grist, potentially? Are we worried about Energy Flux? I think I'm just going to hold this open and not deploy the Pithing Needle. If we get into a situation where we have to crack the Soul-Guide Lantern, I at least like to have the mana around for that. So we're just, with this current setup, we can just make a Construct token every turn until our opponent dies. So play an Allurin, we can put in an Oswald, but they're going to need to get rid of this Canonist before they get to do that. And we do have a Mother of Runes. Plague Engineer on Human will clear out the Mother, the Loran, and half the life of the Ethersworn Canonist. So it's pretty good against us. Which is why I didn't really want to play this second Mother of Runes out if I can avoid it. We've got the Source of Plowshares in. This looks like another Allurin cast here. If they cast this, they can't cast another spell. However, we can put our Oswald Fiddlebender into play now. And they can't counterspell this because of the Allurin. So we have the Grindstone kill right now. Put these triggers on the stack. Tap this for mana. Okay, they're cracking a fetch land. We'll get the Grindstone here. Play the Urza Saga. Let's turn our Soul Guide Lantern into a Painted Servant. We're not going to name black because our opponent is representing Veil of Summer potentially. So we're just going to go and get Painted Servant here. And we're going to name, interesting, in white. And then we will attempt to grind our opponent. They have a removal spell, we have a Mother of Runes activation. Right, we've got the GG from our opponent. I think the Allurin helped us out quite a lot there, in all honesty. It feels like a very difficult combo for them to execute because we have so many pieces that we put in off their own combo piece. So our hate pieces are enabled by their Allurin. So I'm quite happy with this matchup in general. I also think this version of Allurin isn't as good as the one I play with Charbel. Although that one is a much more difficult one to play because it's 4 colours and you have to do all these Recruiter of the Guard lines and stuff. And you have to use the weird little merfolk. You can't just play Asarak and just click through it a bunch of times. Alright, let's go to round 2. Okay, we're on the play for round 2. Our hand's got a pretty nice curve. Esper Sentinel into Stoneforge or Canonist, depending on what the matchup calls for. This seems pretty good. We can also lead out on a basic. So we're guaranteed to be able to at least put our 2-drop on the stack. Which is, well, provided we live that long. We could just get bopped on turn 1. It's a thing that happens sometimes. But we have a lot of good tools in our hand. We've even got a Karakas if our opponent's trying to put in some giant monsters. Now, a lot of those giant monsters do draw cards, so not necessarily the most helpful being able to bounce it, but it's something. Right, our opponent took a little while there with their mulligan decision, so we've burnt off a few minutes of the clock. We're going to lead out basic planes into Esper Sentinel, and it's our opponent's turn. Bloodstained Mire. This feels like a reanimator deck. I can just feel it in my bones. Alright. An Oswald Fiddlebender. Interesting. We'll play out our Karakas. What are we supposed to get here? If we've got multiple options here. We can deploy our Stoneforge and have a threat that can race some reanimator targets. Or we can play the Canonist and stop our opponent. But if they've got Entomb, they can Entomb our end step, untap, reanimate. And then where are we? nowhere good, but we can stop them from casting multiple spells. I think we have to do this. So if they do reanimate something and draw some more cards, they can't immediately put a second monster into play. Not ideal, but sort of closing down some of their options as best we can. We get our singular point of damage in. Kaboom! One of your mightiest damages, please. There was no end of turn Entomb. Okay, maybe I've misjudged what our opponent's doing. I think what Bloodstone Mires. It could be a Storm deck, which this would obviously be pretty strong against. Mox Opal. Okay. Looks like we're up against a Storm deck. So they can play a bunch of artifacts, but they can't cast a tutor or a kill spell. Well, they can cast one of those, right? Okay, so we're on probably like the Epic Storm, I'd imagine. So what is our quickest route to winning this game? We need to reduce our opponent's life total so they can't ad nauseum. Because that's usually how they're going to find a line. The Fiddlebender is not going to win us the game right now, but we can play it on the next turn. So we could play the Staff and draw a card. And then next turn, play the Fiddlebender and do something. And then combo them off that way. Or we can pressure their life total from next turn. I think we're supposed to try and pressure our opponent's life total. And if we can draw a mana source, say yes to this, the Kaldra. So if we can get another mana source, we can play Kaldra and the Fiddlebender next turn, and then have the combo to win the turn, whilst also impacting our opponent's life total for a decent whack next turn. If we can steal a game 1 against Storm, I'd be pretty happy. That does look like what we're playing against to me. A Dark Ritual. Okay. So this means they can't win this turn, I don't believe. A Wishful Talisman, sure. They can go and get something with this, but they can't cast it this turn. A mana source would be lovely. We found a mana source. Not quite the one we wanted, but I will take it. Let's put in the Kaldra. We will attack with the team. We'll keep this one. So if we play into Massacre this turn, how bad is that for us? No, they can't do that because they'd have to get Wish and then go through that way. Okay, I think we'll just play out the Oswald and hope to draw another land so we can combo them next turn. But even if we can't combo them, this guy is a lethal threat alongside. Well, we have lethal damage as well as potential combo next turn. But if they bounce our Fraction Germ, we've still got 2, 4, 5, 6 damage. Alright, so we've got game 1 versus Storm. Pretty happy about that. That means we might get game 3. So, Deafening Silence, pretty good in this matchup. Loran has some text. March of Otherworldly Light has some text. Crucible of Worlds is an interesting one because you can eventually bury your opponent's mana with Wastelands and stuff, but it's not really how you intend to win this game. How much removal do I think they're going to have? We want the Pithing Needle. We don't really want this Retrofitter Foundry. This isn't a grind game. The mana base they showed us could have been ad nauseum tendrils. So I'm reluctant to remove our Soul Guide Lantern here. I think Staff of Storyteller here might be a little on the slow side for what we're trying to accomplish. We just want stuff that messes with what they're doing. And we can probably do without Mother of Runes as well. It's fine, we've got maximum combo pieces in. Sure, I think we'll submit like this. So Grey-Red Hate usually isn't that good against Storm, but if they are on ad nauseum tendrils, then we don't mind having that extra 1 slot. Okay, so this is one of the cards that we're looking for in this matchup. So I'd very much like to keep this hand. Chance of us getting to turn 2 with this in our hand, or getting to our turn 1 with this in hand seems low. Our opponent is a deck that can have Thoughtseize. Okay. No play there. This is good for us. So we've got Deafening Silence into Stoneforge, into Esper Sentinel and Kaldra attack. This is a pretty good start for us. Could definitely come undone if they're on the white build with Prismatic Ending. That's pretty good. Let's go for Deafening Silence. All the horrible things. Sure. So next turn we can probably deploy the Ancient Den in the Stoneforge. Unless we draw something like a Painter. That might encourage us to get the Saga ticking. But we might just want to wait a turn on that so we can leverage at least 1 token out of it before it goes. Underground Sea. Lotus Petal. I haven't seen any of the cards that are specific to either build. So we can take out this Lotus Petal if that's a thing we want to do. I think the correct play here is to make a threat to try and close the game out while our opponent is stuck underneath the silence. Had the Batterskull in hand in the last game as well. Alright, so next turn we are putting in Kaldra and the Sentinel, or if our opponent plays out a Lion's Eye Diamond and just leaves it there, then we'll hit it with a March Feather Warrior Light instead of playing a Sentinel. We might even do that on the Lotus Petal. Okay. Happy to play out another Plains here rather than get our Saga ticking, I think. Given we have stuff to do with our mana for a couple of turns. Put this one in. Get ourselves a little token. So we have a choice now. We can hit this Lotus Petal or we can play out our Sentinel. I think I'm going to play out the Sentinel. So this means we hit for 6 and then we kill them on the next turn. Because we'll put the Batterskull in. Alright. We got the game. Deafening Silence, powerful sideboard card. Sure, this is one of the matchups I don't like that much. Because they can just go in underneath you. But this is slower than the Epic Storm has been in the past. The power of Galvanic Relay means that they're not really a turn 1 combo deck as much. Not like the Epic Gamble, which is a really bad matchup. Because they very much are a turn 1 combo deck. That's a lot more frequent for the Epic Gamble than it is for the Epic Storm. The Epic Storm tends to be slightly slower, but has the inevitability from just constantly powering out these big Galvanic Relays, which we can actually interfere with things like Deafening Silence and Ethersworn Canonist. Alright, 2-0, let's go to round 3. Alright, we have a turn 3 combo with a potential lock piece as well. Very much coming up Millhouse today so far. I'll keep this one. Akuda Limpa. What do they normally play? I think they're Trophy Leader at the moment. City of Traitors. What is this going to be? Chalice of the Void. We don't care about the Chalice. We do care about Blood Moon. We can't really do much about that. We're just going to hang this as a Saga out there and hope that our opponent doesn't have a Blood Moon next turn. That would be bad for us. Feeling like a Blood Moon. A Trinisphere. Okay, that's not the end of the world. Can't actually make any plays this turn because of the Trinisphere. Our opponent is also locked out underneath their own Trinisphere. Okay, now they're not. Failure Breaker. We race this. That's fine. Grindstone out here. Playing our Plains. So let's cast this guy. We'll name Black. So the one thing I'm worried about here is a Fury killing our Painter's Servant. If that happens, then we have to pivot into Stoneforge Mystic, which is often good enough to win these games. I think we'll just take the 2 damage here. I don't think there's anything that's going to ping it for 1, but I don't really want to get caught out like that. Feels like we're just going to get Furied here. Chaos of Chaos Venture. Okay, so our opponent is dead. So they're locked under their own Trinisphere. They're just hoping that we don't have a mana source. Alright, let's play basic Plains. Don't show them the Wasteland. Just mill them out. Let's have a look at what they're playing. Blood Moon, Fury, Rabble Master, War Boss. This looks very similar to the build I played on the channel the other day. Cursed Mirrors is a bit different. I think that's the only different one. That's a Spicy Singleton by the looks of it. Alright, pretty standard type of fare there. So this is where the backup plan comes in really handy, actually, because Stoneforge can pressure these decks quite nicely. We're in an awkward bind here because of the Chalice and stuff, so we definitely want these March Feather Warrior Lights and this Loran to come in. That seems fine. Crucible is an interesting one because it does give us the ability to just take out all their mana from underneath them, because they do have a lot of non-basic. I don't think... Do we want like a Retrofitter Foundry staff package? I don't think we can rely on any of our 1-drops here because our Urza Sagas might just be dying. So not a big fan of that. Mother of Runes, very good. I think we can just go for like the longer game here. Crucible's going to be very bad if they get a Blood Moon. So I guess we're probably just boarding out these 4 and run at this. I would quite like to have these plows in, so that we can just sort of contest their creatures a little bit. But it's going to be difficult to do that. I guess the Canonist actually is really weak. That's probably where those cuts come in. We get the Canonists out to get these plows in. I don't want to have all these things that just lose the Chalice is the problem. I think just having 3 How many chalices are they going to have? We can Fiddlebender up one. We've got these 4 answers for chalice. Do I want to risk... I guess we can maybe trim 1 Oswald for 1 Plow, because we've got less things to tutor for with Oswald anyway. Sure, we'll try that way. We have a turn 3 kill, but our opponent's going to have some sort of graveyard hate, artifact hate. But I think we keep this as well, because the Mother of Rune's pretty nice. We don't have anything to play around a Blood Moon, but our combo is colourless. So... And we do have a whole lot of planes in our deck. Alright. Look at that. Exactly how we drew up. So we have a choice here. We can try and play out the Grindstone now and just go for a turn 3 kill. I don't hate that. Let's try that out. Because that might come in underneath their destroy all artifacts spell. Okay, now it won't. A Null Rod. Sure. Understood, opponent. So we have a choice here. I think we're going to play our Mother of Runes. We're going to play out this Wasteland. And take out their red source. This means if they play something like a Trinisphere, they're going to lose their City of Traitors. And they're going to be very susceptible to a follow-up Wasteland, potentially. Okay, so they've got a red source. Blood Moon. Legion War Boss. Yeah, the threats are probably scarier for us than the lock piece at this point. Okay, so we've got another planes. That's certainly not unhelpful. I think we'll jam this guy out. And we'll name White. Make them think about Solitude. So we can kill this Goblin Shaman token if we want to. But the tokens it's making don't do anything. We can just block it and be okay. A Fury. Let's see how this Fury pans out for us. So I'm presuming... Okay, so letting it die first. Sure. Would I rather keep the Mother of Runes alive or the Painted Servant alive? I think we're going to keep the Painted Servant alive, so we at least got that out there. So let's give this protection from red. This could be a mistake. They're probably going to attack with this just so they get the token, because these are just going to sort of bounce off each other anyway. Tokens don't do anything under Null Rod, though. And if we can find the March for the Body Light, we'll be in an okay shape. Or we've got Loran on the third path as well. And Urza's Saga. We're not casting it, right? Or playing it, sorry. So, if they don't have Blood Moon, well, they need a Soul Land as well at this point. Then we can start pumping out tokens, and that should outclass what our opponent's doing right now. Reflection of Kikijiki is pretty strong. And they're not going to give us an opportunity to Eiganjo, I imagine. Yep, this is going to come in again. Yep. We're going to block again. So this Null Rod's kind of helping us out a bit now, which is not something you see every day. No land from our opponent. That's good news. Oh, an end step. An end step dead. Sure. Okay. So this Ancient Den doesn't do anything, but it does pump our construct. So I'm going to do this so we have a bigger construct. This will importantly make our construct be a 3-3, which is bigger than what our opponent's got going on. Let's make a 3-3. Let's make a 4-4. And then they're going to become 5-5s. We just get another Grindstone, because that's what we've got right now. We can we do anything with March for the Body Light? Not really. We can kill a token, but I think we're on the attack with our guys and beat our opponent down plan. Sure. So we could have killed that token in response, but I don't really care about these that much. They might end up blowing up their own Null Rod, which is an interesting plan, but it might be where they're at. They didn't attack for this just to get another permanent. That's interesting. Okay. I guess we can go to attacks here. I think we will kill this token here. This means we'll bat them for 10 and they'll have to chump block next turn. Horizon Canopy. I don't think we want to sack this just yet. We can hold up Eiganjo if they do want to attack with their reflection. Seems a very unwise thing to do. Human Spirit Guide. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So these are both going to go under the bus because they don't have another mana source here. Let's draw a card. I don't think we're casting this Kaldra anytime soon. Painted Servant. Ancient Den. I guess we can play this Ancient Den out. Attack with our massive guys. This game brought to you by our opponent not drawing Blood Moon. They're going to copy. They can't copy actually, can they? So they've got a turn here to blow up all our artifacts. And if that happens, we kind of go back to square one a little bit. We can make a Painted Servant, but they might be inclined to blow up their own Null Rod, which might give us the ability to then combo them next turn. So they have the 4-mana red thing that blows up 3 artifacts. Alright, they didn't. So we managed to get that one quite nicely. Our opponent didn't have Blood Moon, which was certainly helpful to us. Their sideboard card, our deck was quite easy to pivot around it, but if they had a Blood Moon, I think we lose this game. So tight margins, but I think we get there. So we are 3-0. Let's keep it rolling. We're on the draw. I think we're going to keep this one. We've got a nice curve of Mother into Oswald to find some good stuff if we need it. Or Painter if we get towards doing that sort of stuff too. A Lotus Petal and an Ancient Tomb. Okay. A Blood Sun. Okay. Not great for the Urza Saga. Fortunately, we don't have any of those right now. We're just going to look like good old-fashioned 60-card D&T. But that's going to change relatively soon. So Blood Sun's an interesting one. This actually lets you keep your tapping for 2 mana off of your soul lands, but loses all other abilities. So this won't die. Won't have that trigger anymore. Chalice for 1. Okay. So Oswald's probably going to have to search us up our Grindstone if we're going to win that way. Favor them a break. Quite like to just draw Stoneforge Mystic, to be honest. If we can draw Stoneforge Mystic, we'd probably win this game. Staff of the Storyteller. Similar, but different. So this Retrofitter Foundry isn't doing anything. I will take the staff here and try and draw into either the lands so we can get up to Batterskull, which should dominate combat quite nicely unless our opponent is playing some sort of combo finish that we're worried about. Or we can draw into a Stoneforge. So that's kind of where we're at now. We can kill this Goblin Shaman if we want to. We can put both creatures there and we can tap our Mother Runes to keep itself alive. Honestly, in this matchup, I think that's probably worth doing. They're not going to have a lot of ways of killing our stuff. And if we can strip out a red source from our opponent who seems to not have any, then I think that's worth doing. Okay, there's a red source. We are going to take this block. Let's give my Mother Protection red. So we're losing a Spirit token here, but this could go wrong for us for sure. 3 mana. Is this going to be gone? Punishing Fire. I'll be honest, did not see that coming. Punishing Fire. In their Blood Sun deck. That makes no sense to me, because this shuts off the punishing the Grove of the Bone Willows. Oh, it's weird out there sometimes in the old Legacy Leagues. Okay, let's draw a card with stuff. Storyteller and Urza Saga. So this will die when it comes into play, if I remember rightly. So what are we looking at here? I think we're playing out a Fiddlebender now. If we can find some lands, we might be able to start messing with our opponent. Like some Wastelands, we could always go into a Crucible plan. If we find a Stoneforge, alright. We need this Urza Saga to not be in our hand, to be honest. The Punishing Fire has definitely set us back a bit, because they now have something to copy with their Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. I do think we're supposed to let this through, rather than try and trade these off. But again, we can certainly get punished if our opponent's got something else. A Trinisfit, that's fine. We don't really care about that. Or do we, I suppose? I don't know, we'll see. A Grindstone that we can't cast because of Chalice of the Void. Interesting. If we get... It's only the Crucible we have to shoot for with this Staff of the Storyteller, which isn't going to do us any good. So the question is, do we want a Canonist or a Painted Servant? If we get a Painted Servant, we can combo off relatively soon. So I think we're going to play this one. I think we'll just name White. This means if we draw an Ancient Den, we can win next turn. Because we can turn it into a Grindstone off of the Oswald and then grind with the Painter. Now our opponent could be a sneak attack deck, but they might not be. I think we might have seen some indication of that already. So you've got to wonder why they've got the Blood Sun and not the Blood Moon. Can't quite work that one out myself just yet. Oh, actually no, this is all lands mana abilities, and the life gain for Punishing Fire is tied to the mana ability actually. So I don't want to get Punishing Fired and lose my Painter, so we're going to take the damage. Yeah, so the reason they're playing this is so they can play Punishing Fire. This isn't a non-bo, this actually works. And I apologise earlier to my opponent for getting that wrong. So what is this going to be? A punishing fire on our Oswald. This means we can't get our combo off next turn. Another Oswald Fiddlebender. Second burst, same as the first. Do we attack with our Painted Servant this turn? Our opponent's got no cards in hand, so I think we probably just hold back with our Painter here. We're just looking to draw an Ancient Den. We don't really have any other ways of making artifacts right now. Like 0 mana artifacts. And the Chalice is in play, so... Alright. Let's see what they want to do here. Like, they can force through 2 damage a turn. Oh, what a draw. What a draw. Yuck. Okay, so this is going to get them back a Punishing Fires. And then they can expend a treasure token to shoot down our Oswald. That puts us in a similar position to before. It's going to be tough. They can get both of these back and take out our Painter if they want to. Actually, no, they need 6 mana for that, right? Yeah, no, yes, they get them both back. So they tap both their soul lands. And then they use both their treasures. This means they're probably killing our Painter. Which obviously isn't ideal, but... Okay. I'm going to attack with both of them. Okay, they're killing our Oswald. And then they're holding it up so that we can't block with our Painter. So we've just got to take the 4 here. So Stoneforge Mystic not going to be a great draw anymore. We just need mana. We just need mana, right? If we can hard cast a Batterskull, we probably win this game, I think. This is the nature of things. An Oswald Fiddlebender. Is there any reason why we wouldn't play this? Our opponent is expending a decent amount of resources every turn for this. I think we're just going to start nugging them a little bit and see if this Ancient Tomb can help us out. Like, another stuff, the Storyteller here is pretty good as well, because it charges up our other ones, so it gives us 2 draws. Alright, another Goblin token. So what we're going to do here, they've given us the opportunity to block their actual real token here. So I'm going to take this. Because if they're going to kill our guy, they're going to kill it anyway. So we prevent damage and possibly clear the token, so they won't have anything to copy with their reflection anymore. Which dramatically changes the clock we're under here. So I have to imagine this is going to get a Punishing Fire. I think they should have Punishing Fire before blocks, to be honest. We just want to draw some mana, some stuff of Storyteller, that sort of jazz. Sure. So there's a Punishing Fire on that guy anyway. So we're going to lose 1 life in this turn cycle. Not too bad. Alright, back over to us. An Esper Sentinel that we can't cast. I guess we can put our Canonist into play. This kind of has an interesting impact on how Punishing Fire works. Most of the time it just means that Punishing Fire is going to kill our Canonist. And then they're going to kill whatever else they want to do. Let's keep getting the damages in. Just want to draw some land. Punishing Fire on our Canonist, as I said would happen. Right, so they're copying again. Bashing us in for 4. If we'd have just drawn enough lands to put this Batterskull into play, we'd have been home and dry. This is an interesting choice. We can Wasteland away their Grove to stop them doing this, or we can hold up to try and hard cast the Batterskull. I think they've got no Punishing Fires in hand right now. I think we just have to hold up the land for the Batterskull. I think we're probably losing the game here. We bricked on lands too many times. And their Chalice definitely caused us a little bit of bother. So we go to 7 here. They can make a clone. They can then attack for 4. And then they've got 4 damage in hand. So that's lethal if we don't block. So we have to block this turn. And then we're probably still dead. But we'll see how this turn plays out. So they're copying now. We have to go to blocks. Save ourselves a little bit of life. This will put us to 5. And we know they've got 4 damage in hand. So they can just kill us next turn in combat. And they're going to fire off a Punishing Fire now just to make sure. Sure. Right. So they've got Punishing Fire in hand. Casting something big. 6 mana. Why is our opponent showing us that card? Interesting. They don't think they need to show us that card. Let's see what we draw. And then let's see how we concede the game. Staff of the Storyteller. So there's blocks. Does stuff. 2, 3. I don't think this is enough. Just have a look at another card. Where were you on turn 3? Alright, we'll concede the game. Alright. So another Prisoner deck. This one's slightly different because it's got the Punishing Fire combo in. Also has the high end of Chandra, which makes me more inclined to keep this Pithing Needle, but not entirely sold. Not sure how good plows are going to be given what our opponent showed us. So Canonists, probably not very good here. Sentinels and stuff's fine. Haven't shown us anything we'd need a Soulguide Lantern for. Our 1-drops into the Blood Sun stuff was no good before, so I don't think it's going to be any good now. This gives us 2 plows. Do we want to keep in a Crucible? Not really. They're a Blood Sun deck. Just have another plow and roll like this. This hand does not do the things we need it to do. Let's mulligan. This hand also does not do the things we need it to do. It's pretty good with a white source though. I think we have to mulligan. Alright, this is the best one so far, although it does have an Urza Saga, which is pretty bad. 2 of these cards got to go. I think it's the Grindstone, and neither of these fill me with a lot of joy. I think it's probably the Plow. I imagine neither of them are going to work, is the truth of the story. Right, let's get a Mother down, and let's get a Staff and try and grind our way back into it that way. If our opponent plays something like a Chrome Mox, maybe we're incentivized to do something about it. This is going to be a Chalice and shut off our 1-drop. Okay. This is going to be Blood Sun. Fable Windbreak. Okay. That's not great, but it's fine. It's better than Blood Sun because it means we do get to play our Urza Saga. I think we play out the Urza Saga now. At least get it to tap for mana. Make ourselves a Staff the Storyteller. Pass the turn. We're not attacking here. Now we know about the Punishing Fire, we're not going to take that block. Okay, Punishing Fire is online. But this time we're not going to fall into that trap. We do have to just let them get some treasures here until we can do something about this. Which might be as early as this turn, but we'll see. A Trinisphere. Okay. I will cast this Painter's Servant on white. So our opponent has 3, 4, 5. So they might be able to cast 2 spells next turn. They would have to be removal spells to deal with our painter. We do have Mother of Runes. Let's see what this is. A Blood Sun. Unfortunate. So Blood Sun is a cantripping Blood Moon for, in some situations. And in another situation it doesn't do anything. Because it doesn't mess with people's colours. It just messes with additional abilities. So it's not going to just immediately end the game against some sort of 4-colour deck. But it's very good against Urza Saga still. And you get a cantrip off of it. And lets you play your other bits and pieces. Alright. They've signaled they don't have a Punishing Fire, which is nice. For Grindstones, we're looking for... activate this Staff of the Storyteller. Let's do that first. Alright, we're going to keep deploying some lands. We don't get to play another spell because of the Trinisphere, unfortunately. Do we want to peck at our opponent for 1? Or we can hold back 2 guys to double block the token if it ever wants to come in. And then we can lose a Spirit token and then they have to commit a removal spell that we can then Mother of Runes away. So I think that's worth doing. Civ Traders. Okay, our opponent's got a lot of mana. Understood. There's Fury. Could be a Fury. It is a Fury. A hard cast Fury. That's pretty bad for us. We will save our Painter's Servant, hopefully. They're just going to re-Fury. Sure. Pretty awkward for us. And they get to sweep up the rest of our board. But our guys die anyway, so we kind of have to do that play, even though it doesn't get us anywhere. And now we're basically dead. We do have the plows in our deck. But again, we are under Trinisphere right now. Yep, so this is 12 damage. If we play this and crack this, we won't have the mana to do anything with it, so we're just dead. Alright, we've taken our first loss of the league. Yeah, our opponent's draws were pretty solid. They had the right spells at the right time, which is not something that Prison often has in my experience. I didn't have a great time playing it the other day, to be honest. But it's got a lot of very powerful tools. If they line up in the right way, it's very hard to beat, and that's kind of what happened there. Again, if we could just get an early Stoneforge Mystic. If we just have turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, activate, put Kaldra in, we win these games basically every single time. Which is why I really like this build against the Prison decks, because Stoneforge Mystic is just great. Now, they do have Punishing Fires in the deck, and we did kind of get blown out in game 1 because we didn't see the Punishing Fires coming. Maybe we got too greedy on that blocks. So, possibly the first game we could have played differently and better. But that game we were just getting absolutely cleaned out. Just clean house. They had the Bloodstone on the turn they needed it. You know, they got the Furies and stuff. So, all right, we are 3-1 going to the final round to see if we can get yet another 4-1 with this deck. So we've got Esper Sentinel into an Urza Saga game. Is that good enough? I think just about. We are on the play. Opponent's mulligan to 6 cards. We'll lead off on a basic Plains just to be Wasteland proof. Alright, are we going to get some cards this turn? Or are we just going to get our opponent to not do anything? Now, if they're a really fast combo deck, they don't care about this. They can just let us draw 1 card and just win around us. But if they try and play lands into the Sentinel, that might give us an opportunity to Wasteland the things they're doing. Cavern of Souls. Alright. Human. I'm expecting some sort of initiative deck here. Let's see if they pay for the Sentinel or not. They do pay for the Sentinel. That makes me suspect that our opponent has more lands in hand. This is a tough call as to whether we play the Saga or we just Wasteland them off of the Cavern of Souls. You know me, right? I love a Wasteland. Let's take this out. We're going to deploy this, makes our future as a Saga tokens bigger, gives us a potential win quicker without having to rely on the Saga popping. A Chromox. Are they paying here? This might prove difficult for them to make a 4-drop this turn. Or are they imprinting? Simon Spirit Guide. They got another Simon Spirit Guide to make a 4-drop, or are they going to make a 3-drop here? We're just going to be playing against nothing but... Okay, so this is Red-White Initiative. Sure, so they're going to look at this, they're going to see the Urza Saga, and they're probably going to name Urza Saga, but they could name Grindstone. Make it cost 5 to activate. But if they do that, can they beat the Urza Saga beats? So it puts them in a bit of a bind. And they're going to be big Urza Sagas. We've already got 2 artifacts in play. They've named Urza Saga, sure. We don't have the Painted Servant in our hand right now, so I can understand why they would go for the Saga route. I've sometimes made the mistake of trying to play around stuff and then just lose into the things that's already in play. We can make a Saga here. They know about the Eiganjo though. So next turn we can Eiganjo their Anointed Peacekeeper and unlock our Saga. We are not attacking. And we're probably not blocking either. So they only have red mana right now. Sure, we can afford to take 3 here. Another Ancient Tomb. And no follow-up play. A Painter's Servant. Okay, interesting. Do we deploy the Painter's Servant and just try and kill them next turn? Do we hold up this Eiganjo? Do we draw a card off of our Staff of Storyteller first? What realistically is going to change if we do this? We could get solituded with our Painted Servant here. Let's attack with our Spirit Token. We got some more lands in hand anyway. I think we're going to hold up the Eiganjo. They know about the Eiganjo, which makes it a worse play though. But we do have other things to do with our mana in terms of Staff of Storyteller. Alright, they're just going straight into it, aren't they? This unlocks our Urza Saga, so we get one of those off. Right, I feel in the driving seat now. They didn't have a follow-up last turn with this mana, so... Alright. So they didn't know about the Eiganjo. I'm pretty sure they saw it when they Peacekeeped us. So our opponent is Red-White Initiative. We would like to kill their creatures. I don't mind blowing up some of their bits and pieces. March for the Woody Light, I'm not big on. It's good for some sort of mana denial plan, but I'm not convinced that's necessarily where I want to be. I don't like Oswald as much because they always have the Karakas against me. We don't need Solar Lantern. We can make a lot of things with the Retrofitters. I don't think we need Pithing Needle here. Mother of Ruins is pretty good. Makes us good in combat. The Portable Hole is something we can tutor up to deal with a Chalice. If that's something we're worried about. I do like Crucible in this matchup just to get rid of all their stuff. Canonist doesn't seem great. So we have one more slot if we want to bring one of these back in. Containment Priest does just beat and is good against their flickery nonsense if they flicker one of their own guys. Or we can have a March for the Worldly Light just to deal with a Chalice. Would we rather have another March for the Worldly Light over a Plow here? That is the question. I don't think we do. I think I'd rather have a March for the Worldly Light than Portable Hole though. This is at least a castable spell. Do you want to get rid of a Grindstone? I don't think so, because our opponent has the ability to shut down our Urza Sagas with things like Blood Moon. They usually run Magus of the Moon. I think I'm going to submit like this. We seem to have got one of those hands that's very bad against Blood Moon. We do have a lot of great tools in this hand, and we do have a lot of planes in our deck. I'm going to keep this one for science, I guess. That's what you say when you keep a hand that you're not happy with, right? You keep it for science. Okay. Turn 1 Blood Moon is very bad. It's not something they tend to play that often, though. Just going to be a chalice for 1. I can live with that. Stoneforge Mystic will beat a lot of creatures in their deck. Not a big fan of the old Ancient Den. It's an artifact, so it gets hit by whatever artifact things they brought in, and it's a non-basic, so it gets hit by whatever Blood Moon effects they brought in. They can't just play a Blood Moon that turn. Okay, so we get to jump a Stoneforge Mystic all up in their grills. I think I will play this Saga. If they play the Blood Moon, that's annoying for us, but if they don't, then we can just kill them and paint a servant in a couple of turns. We do also have our Lorana the Third Path if we need to blow up this chalice at some point. Let's go and get this Kaldra Compleat. That should outclass most creatures in our opponent's deck. Seasoned Dungeoneer is the only one that it might not do. They could play an Anointed Peacekeeper and shut off our Stoneforge Mystic this turn, which means we can pivot onto making some constructs. If they play someone like a Seasoned Dungeoneer, that's fine. Chaos Adventurer, a little bit bigger, but we can deal with this. We do get a basic this turn if we hit them with our Kaldra Compleat. So they've got planes out of their deck, sure. It's not very mana efficient to use this Kaldra to attack, but I think we will do it. Let's do this correctly. Let's put it in via the Stoneforge, shall we? See if we can get initiative off our opponent. We'll get planes here, which is one of the things we've been looking for, which is nice. Many planes. We can play our planes. Can't really do anything with it, but it means we can Loran and Plow next turn and just have a beatdown plan rather than do anything else here. Our opponent gets to bash us for 5 and then go into the next room of their dungeon. And then depending on what they have next, as a follow-up, could be bad for us or it could be alright for us. We'll see. If they had another initiative creature, they'd probably play it first just so they can forge onto their guy, so they can bash for 7. So I have to imagine they don't have an initiative guy. Or they're planning on saving it in case for some reason they can't attack. But we can Loran to block their chalice, Plow to kill their Caves of Chaos Adventurer, and then get the initiative. Now if they play another threat, that doesn't work. If they don't play a threat here, I think they're toast. Okay. If they got a threat, then we might have to navigate this game differently. Sure. So this is a threat. It's going to hit us for 5. So we can block the Caves of Chaos Adventurer here. I don't know why they didn't cast that pre-combat. They missed 2 damage. That's over to us. What is the correct play here? I don't think we're making a construct, although the construct will be relatively big because we can play out another Ancient Den. If we make a construct, play out the Ancient Den, I think we're just adding mana here. And we'll get this Grindstone ready for the future. So I think we've got 4 cards. I don't want to die next turn. Let's get rid of this chalice. This unlocks the plow in our hand. Play off of planes, I think. And do we attack and take the initiative here? We have to plow this guy. This can first strike this away. Our opponent gets 1 card. Actually, no, the correct play here is plow the Dungeoneer. Attack with the Stoneforge Mystic. Get the initiative. And then we're away. Because this can first strike this away, so they never get trample damage. And we're going to go down the Lost Well side. Because the stash will give us enough to combo next turn. If I've done my maths right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. We don't need this, so put this on the bottom of the library. Put this on the bottom of the library. Sure. So we've got the initiative. We've got a creature that stops them getting the initiative. We've got a combo kill next turn if we continue having the initiative. We found the line in the end. Probably took me a bit too long, but post midnight. Can you blame me? Oh, it's not going to work out the way you want it to, opponent. I guess they do get to exile a card here, which might be relevant. Searing Spirit Guide. That's not the one, is it? So this comes in, first strikes it away, and sends it to the Phantom Zone. Swords to Plowshares, our guy. Sure. So they're going to draw a card here. We attack with both our creatures, gives us the initiative. We get a stash token, make Painted Servant, Grindstone them. So I have to play 2 creatures here, or hold up removal for our Painted Servant. It could definitely go wrong for us though. Solitude is a card. They pitch a Fury now, that's also pretty bad for us. The Simian Spirit Guide. Okay. A lot of cards in our opponent's hand. Alright, they're playing a Plains. That speaks of Anachromox. Okay, so this is going to leave them with 2 cards in hand. They're playing an additional threat. Mages of the Moon. This is going to be like a Wear Tear. A Chalice for 1. Okay, our opponent's just given us this game, I think. Now, holding stuff in hand doesn't necessarily make any difference here. But we're going to go to attacks. Sure. So they're going to kill our Stoneforge, but we're going to hit them with the Loran. It's going to take us to the stash. We're going to get ourselves a treasure. Go to second main phase. Play our Ancient Den. Cast this little guy. Now, if they've got something like an Emrakul in their deck, just a mess of painted decks, then yikes. Let's see if we can get them there. Did we get you? They boarded in a Gaia's Blessing. All right. Understood. Okay. I should have taken a better look at what they boarded in as well. All right, we're going to have to go to a game 3, I think. So do we want to trade with the Spirit Guide here? Where does that get us, realistically speaking? We have to block here. Let's trade. Go off the board. We take 7. They go into the Catacombs and get something spooky. Ah, yes, the Gaia's Blessing. Fun times. What are the 10 cards I revealed? City, Seasoned Dungeoneer. Seasoned Dungeoneer is enough, isn't it? Let's concede the game. Alright. So, they have a Blessing. We have choices. We can either ditch a whole bunch of the sideboard. We can either just go into playing like a fair white Death and Taxes deck. Or we can bring in a single Soulguide Lantern for some of our stuff. I think what we're going to do here is trim a couple of Grindstones. Trim a couple of Painters. Get this Soulguide Lantern in. Get in Much for the Body Light. Another Fiddlebender. And is Containment Priest worth it here? I don't think so. It's Portable Hole. So we still have the ability to combo, but we've massively trimmed it down now. And we're just going to try and get them as a Stoneforge deck. Which is often fine, to be honest. Okay, so we might be able to combo them off here. So we can keep this. We don't have a turn 1 play outside of the Lantern, which is fine, but we're not great against Blood Moon here either. There's a lot of ways this goes wrong for us. I think we play out the Karakas first. Jam this. Sure, maybe we're not supposed to play to the Painter win there, just in case they have the Blessing. Right, Cavern of Souls on human, presumably. This plays all their guys. They slam a Blood Moon here, I'm going to be unhappy. Okay, so we can, depending on what happens here, we could get rid of their Chromox and their Cavern of Souls on our turn. Our opponent would probably be very unhappy about that. Simian Spirit Guide. Another Simian Spirit Guide. I mean, just getting Seasoned Dungeoneer on turn 1. Sure. Alright, well, it's the best thing that their deck can do. So, not great for us. If we can find a Plow, then we can do alright, maybe? We do need to do something about this. The initiative's obviously going to tick up and cause us a little bit of issues. So we need something more than what we've got right now. Painted Servant. Can we race them this way? Maybe? We need a 0-drop artifact is the problem. Now we can try and cut the mana out from underneath them. They've got a Plains in hand. How does that actually win us the game? I don't think it does. I think we're supposed to... we can Fiddlebend and just Wasteland them out of the game, but I don't think that gets us anywhere. I think we need to go into the Staff and try and get the initiative back off our opponent so we can get another mana source, and then also try and use it to draw a card and get a Plow. I think we lost the second game by playing to the Painter combo instead of just making loads of guys and doing that whole jam. I think we had that one if we thought about it a bit more. Alright, so they're just making this guy as big as possible. Is it going to be 6 or is it going to be 5 this turn? Let's find out. Touch the Spirit Realm. It's a 6. Understood. And they get to choose if they want that or not. So we take 6. Next turn we can take as much as 12. This sort of starts as why the initiative deck got a banning, because being able to do this basically every game by having a 3 mana one of these is a bit too much. What have they got now? Anointed Peacekeeper, probably on Staff of the Storyteller. Or is it Lorana the Third Path? Okay, we're going to lose our Staff of the Storyteller here. That is troublesome. But if we can get a plow out, I think we'll be okay. Not great, but okay. Oh, they're going for the staff. The Soul Guide Lantern even. Sure. Right, so we're definitely off the painted plan here. So we've got our own Loran if we want it. I don't think we do want it. We're definitely taking the initiative back for this turn. But then what is the real question there. So we're going to get this land out of our deck. Then we're going to play it. And maybe we're supposed to start with Storyteller first. In case we draw a Saga. A Batterskull. We need to get 5 mana for this Batterskull to matter. We can only play one of these guys now. Fiddlebender. What can Fiddlebender find us? Crucible is not going to help. Portal Hole's already in our hand. We just need a way of dealing with the Seasoned Dungeoneer. Is there a way that we can make tokens? Maybe. Or we can play this and then we have a Hail Mary of our opponent drawing their... what's it called? Their Gaia's Blessing. So if they draw the Gaia's Blessing out, then we'll be doing okay. We don't want to name white because this will make this tap for 2 colours. I think we'll just name blue. Our Batterskull looks weird. Alright, so we can block the Lorana the Third Path with our 1/3. Yeah. But we're still going to be taking 6 + 5, possibly 7 + 5. We desperately need a plow here. Right, we boarded them in. We can march otherwise like this away because we've got white cards to pitch to it as well. So we've got 7 outs that take this out. They revealed a Solitude. Yuck. We can't block this. There goes half our life total. Here goes 5/7 of our life total. Yep, so they're going to dome us for 5. Ouch, we're on 2. Horizon Canopy, not looking like a great draw right now, but that's not really what this game's about. Can we find... If we find another staff, we can deploy the staff, activate the staff, maybe get ourselves a Swords to Plowshares, or a March of the Worldly Light. Either of those does do it here. Or, well, I say do it. It keeps us going for a little bit longer, right? Which is all you can hope for. They've got a Solitude on top of their library, which does gain us life, but it's probably going to be bad for us. Because the most life it's going to gain us is going to be 1, and then they're going to bash for 2, so it's going to be bad for us. Our opponent has got Touch of the Spirit Realm coming into play. Is this going to get rid of our staff for the Storyteller, or is it going to get rid of our painter? Okay. There's a Saga. Can we generate a token of any description? We cannot generate a token this turn. We can get our Painter's Servant back. What does that do? Nothing. We don't have a way of dealing with the Seasoned Dungeoneer. We haven't drawn any of our numerous spells that deal with it. Can't make a token to draw with the staff. What does this do? This blows this up. Gets us a painter. Where are we on the dungeon? We can scry, but we can't draw the card. So that's no good. Portal Hole doesn't do anything here. No, I think we are dead, unfortunately. Yeah, our opponent had their, like, 5% draw here and just beat us. The turn 1 Seasoned Dungeoneer. Like, turn 1 Caves of Chaos Adventurer is kind of bad, but you can kind of marshal some stuff around to block it and soak up some of the damage, especially when you've got sort of 3 toughness creatures. But sadly, it was not the case there. We had many outs that would keep us in that game for some time, so we could get the initiative off our opponent. We could kill their guy. We can bounce to the Loran, worst case scenario, or block it. So we definitely had like 7 really good hits that can keep us in that game, but we just didn't find them. All right, let's talk about the deck. So this is the 3rd time I've run Staff of Storyteller Grindstoneforge. And I went 4-1, 4-1, 3-2. So, what was that? 11-3 record? Can I do maths? No, 11-4. 11-4 record, which is a very solid win rate for any deck, to be honest. And the games we lost today, I think we misplayed the game against the initiative player. The second game, we should have expected the blessing and just gone into making some tokens with our Saga and stuff. I think if we do that, we win the game because our guys are just going to be bigger than theirs. They're not going to be able to ram through with like the Caves of Chaos Venturer. So I think we made the mistake there. So that's kind of on us a little bit, not on the deck. So I think this league should have been a 4-1. But there we go. I really like this list. I like not having Skrelv in the deck. Skrelv never really was very good in my opinion when I played it. It just sort of felt like just another thing to get caught up by all the stuff that blows up your artifacts. And it was just worse than Mother of Runes. Now, you can tutor for it, but I've never found myself wanting to tutor for it. Because if your Oswald is activating, then you don't really need to protect your Oswald. Because if your Oswald's activating, it means your opponent doesn't have removal for your Oswald. Which means they're not going to have removal for the next thing you find anyway. Because you should be removing Oswald before it taps. Otherwise, you're in bad shape. And pretty much all the removal that hits Oswald is also going to hit your other guys. Now, there are some things like Wear Tear that will only hit your Painter. So I could certainly see people wanting Skrelv for that. But I think that corner case is a bit narrow. Especially when we have so many other good plans in terms of our Stoneforge Mystic, Urza Saga, Storyteller package. We've kind of got enough things to be getting on with. We don't have to worry about that, in my opinion at least. And having 4 Esper Sentinel just gives you a solid unit of like 7 good 1-drop creatures that you can just drop on turn 1. The Esper Sentinel is a great card, right? It does a lot of work for us, and I'm glad to have 4 back in the deck. I didn't like going down to 3 before, but I think back on 4 is good. I think having extra planes was fine. We played against a lot of like Mooney decks today, and we drew our planes for them, so it's nice having them in the deck. I think you can trim 1 planes for something else, but I'm not sure what that something else is supposed to be. Maybe if I can squeeze in some kind of land that produces tokens, but I don't really want to play Karoo, is it? Because that is that Core Haven, is it? I think is the one that makes things, but it messes with your other lands a little bit. So I'm not really sure that's something I want to look at. Just to, you know, it's just good for grinding with stuff as Storyteller, but it means that Wastelands are better against you. But the Wastelands should be pointed to as a Saga anyway, so hard to say on that one. As for Umezawa's Jitte, which is one of the things I was looking at, didn't really feel like I wanted it. Although there was definitely situations where I could get something with a Stoneforge and maybe put it in, but we never really drew the Stoneforge anyway. Like against the Punishment Fire deck, we might have been able to connect with a Jitte somehow if our opponent's spending all their removal on the Stoneforge each turn. They left our painter alone, but again, I don't think that's where we want to be. Yeah, really happy with the deck. I don't think there's much tweaking left to be done on this deck. I think we are approaching the optimal. I'll have a think about some sort of token land. If you've got any ideas, please leave it in the comments. There's probably some from some set that I don't know that is worth doing. I don't want anything really expensive. Something that can make a token for like 2 or 3 mana to make a creature token would be nice. But I'm not really sure if that exists. But again, we're going to have a look on Scryfall at some point and see if we can pull one up. But yeah, pretty happy with this deck. The only other thing I sometimes think about wanting is another 3-drop to find with Oswald, because we've got more 2s now. So because of the stuff as Storyteller, sometimes we might want to change that up. So if we had a good other 3-drop, but I don't really think there are only 3-drops I want. When I wasn't running Stoneforge, I was running Ensnaring Bridge. So during sort of like the initiative winter, I was having that as one of my 2 targets. So I could just sort of sit behind it and grind them away at my leisure, which is nice. But I don't think that's where I want to be. Now I think the Stoneforge Mystic plan is just really good and synergizes very well with stuff as Storyteller, which is honestly one of the better white cards in Legacy right now, in my view. It really is great. Cyborg-wise, pretty happy with this. We had so many great Cyborg cards for the matchups. We just didn't draw them at the right times. So like that last one, removal spell, and we're all right. Okay, I think we're done with this one. It's pretty good showcasing of what the deck can do. I think we definitely should be more aware of Gaia's Blessing and Emrakul's in our opponent's sideboards in terms of how we navigate game 2. So we should probably lean more heavily into the the beatdown plan. Our beatdown plan is very good in this deck as well, because we have Sagas and Stoneforge Mystic. That gives us way more strength in the beatdown plan than some other decks have access to, like other painted decks that are more all in on the combo. So like some of the red decks, for example, if you can shut off the Painter's Servant combo, they can beat you down with things like Fury and their own as a Saga constructs too. But we've got the extra layer of Stoneforge Mystic on that, and Staff of the Storyteller gives us some nice card advantage that doesn't use our graveyard, unlike some of like the Welder card advantage in red decks and things. But yeah, I'm really liking this deck. I'm pretty glad I've got it in paper. We're going to have a think about changing up one of these planes for a token producing land, but other than that, I think we're good. So if you've enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, share to people who you think might enjoy this content too. Help me get more subscribers. That's a really good way of pushing my content. And if you're in a position to financially help me, you can do that. You can throw me a few quid here and there on like Patreon or the YouTube membership. Alternatively, you can get in touch with me for a donation deck and we can sort that out. Or you can join the highest tier of the YouTube membership and get a donation deck that way. I do have some content going out on my Patreon, hopefully in the next week. I've been working on it, but it's obviously quite an extensive primer for Green-Black Turbo Depths, so I need to make sure that's finished at some point. And when it is, I'll let you all know, and then you can get access to that on my Patreon. All right, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.